You were at Harvard for a while. Recently, it came out that their largest position is in Bitcoin. I do think that there's some talk about maybe it's not just like a spot position, and it may be that they're actually using Bitcoin in some sort of short-term trade or something. It just describe a little bit as like how these endowments invest, and like should people put a lot of importance and credence on the Harvard revelation, or is there maybe more to the story that people aren't quite wrapping their head around?
Sure. So Harvard's a fascinating endowment because the investment model has changed a variety of times across the tenure of the types of CIOs they've had. When I used to be at the Harvard Endowment, it was a very dynamic organization where you might almost call it a millennium style pod model internally that happens to be running a giant balance sheet where there were active risk trading that was happening with SMA structure types and capital efficiencies to be had. I believe the version that is existing now under Narv's leadership is more conventionally typical of like the Yale endowment model, which is allocating capital to third-party funds to take risk. So less internal balance sheet risk taking. But for those portions that they do, my understanding is that they're fairly tactical and specific about exposures that they think are high Sharpe ratio or otherwise portfolio tilts towards asset allocation that they think the beta is more worthwhile than the seeking of alpha. Bitcoin could fit into that paradigm, right? It probably doesn't pay a lot to seek alpha for Bitcoin if you think the underlying core beta of Bitcoin is what you're looking for. At the same time, it's a great relative value trade if you could do the long spot versus short futures. And that historically is the trade that the pensions did on their balance sheet. I don't know specifically for Harvard's, but my guess is that would be the same because it is the kind of risk-free yield that sometimes exists in crypto episodically, where you can take Bitcoin risk in a different direction. That being said, I should also mention Harvard was an early investor in crypto. They sought it mostly through venture fund exposures, but they've been in the arena now for almost 10 years. So they know what they're doing. They're clever about a lot of different ways to access alpha. And nonetheless, it is still shocking to see that it is the number one line item because regardless of whether that's directionally long or it's market neutral, what that shows you is there's great volume and great liquidity and depth to the market that for a $55 billion endowment, this could actually show up as their top holdings and not cause any issue about liquidity concerns or things of that nature that, I don't know, 5 years ago, you wouldn't have thought it's possible.